Is it possible to beat Tears of the Kingdom with my only weapon being the Master Sword? Some might think it's easy to do, but others will think about it a bit more and ask, what will I do if it breaks during the fight? This run made me come up with creative ways to deal with the issues I came across, and was a lot of fun to do. Now, before we start, let me go over the rules. The only weapon I am allowed to use is the Master Sword. I will allow fuse since it's a new mechanic of the game, but I am not allowed to use any bows or shields. I am, however, allowed to use materials if they are fused to the Master Sword, or as long as they don't directly hit an enemy. I will also count damage with Link's body, since you can't get rid of the Master Sword, meaning it is one with Link. With all that being said, let's get started. After the 10 minutes of cutscenes, I pick up the Decayed Master Sword. It won't bring much value since it breaks after 2 swings, but it is needed to progress. After the opening cutscene, we make our way over to the Temple of Time, where Rauru tells us to do some shrines. The shrines aren't an issue at all, and can actually be done without any weapons. After all 4 shrines, I jumped off the Sky Island and made my way down to the surface. On the way to look at landing, I stopped by a few shrines to get them out of the way as quickly as possible. After that, I got the paraglider from Pura and started to complete my 3 main objectives. Number 1, complete 20 shrines so I can get the second stamina wheel that is required to pull out the Master Sword. Number 2, get all 12 geoglyphs. I did this to lower the light dragon since it's really high up in the sky, and really hard to reach early game. It also resets the dragon's pathing, making it easier for me to recognize where it would be. You have the option to either save the Great Deku Tree or collect the geoglyphs, but since saving the Great Deku Tree requires you to kill the Phantom Ganon, it's impossible because I don't have a Master Sword at this point. And number 3, collect the Phantom Armor. The reason I collected this armor was because it gives you 24 total defense and a full attack up bonus. Now with that out of the way, I was planning on doing 20 total shrines instead of the intended 24, because I was willing to trade one of my heart containers for a stamina vessel at the bargainer statue, but unfortunately, I found this out. Where is the rock? Wait, are you supposed to do something to unlock the bargainer statue? Apparently, the statue is unlocked after you progress through the main quests. This also happened to me while trying to do the Wacko Boingo glitch earlier, which basically allows you to make a flying machine. So, I went and did the 4 final shrines, and then got the last stamina vessel I needed. I also went to a nearby Sky Island to collect some fairies. I was only able to collect 2 since I messed up on the 3rd one. At this point, I was already done with the geoglyphs, so all I had to do was wait for the dragon to be in the right spot. I finally got the Master Sword. I can actually attack enemies now. Jeez. After I got the Master Sword, I went to Lookout Landing to cook up a few meals to prepare myself for the coming fights. I didn't have the best materials, but I did what I could. After that, it was time. I stormed Hyrule Castle with no plan and hoped for the best. Wait, I'm definitely going the right way. Oh, here's the Lionel. I mean, I could try this. This doesn't take away any durability, so that's some free shots. It's a free flare rush. Look at that bat. I hate that bat. It's coming after me. Oh, please kill the bat. I'm dead. That was pretty easy. After that, I just kept on going through the underground castle, killing some enemies on the way. Then, I finally made it to the Demon King's lair. On my first few attempts, I got through the Demon King's army pretty easily, except I did lose a fairy a couple of times. My Master Sword did run out of energy before I killed the last Bokoblin, but I pulled out a wing and used it as cover while I waited for it to come back. I quickly realized that it wouldn't have much durability since I had just heavily used it on the enemies prior, so I broke it on purpose for it to recharge. Colgera was a breeze, and I made sure to stall long enough for my sword to come back. The Marbled Goma was next after Colgera. I had a few seconds until my sword came back, so I ran around for a bit, and when my sword came back, I fused the boss Bokoblin horn to it and got straight to fighting. I ascended up to Goma's eye and kept on hitting him until he launched me off. I repeated that until I got up to his second stage, but it wasn't too different. So with that, he was dead, and I moved on to the next boss, Muktarok. I was unfamiliar with his attacks the most out of every boss, and my only plan was to hit him with splash fruits to weaken him. I was able to one-cycle him to half health, but then in the second phase, my Master Sword was about to break. With it gone, I pulled out a hydrant hoping it would protect me from his attacks until I got my sword back. I got too confident with it, and lost the fairy. I got my Master Sword back, and this time I weakened him with the hydrant, which led to an easy fight. The next boss was Queen Gibdo. My plan was to fuse a piece of topaz I had to the Master Sword so I could damage it. Without it, it wouldn't break its defensive coat. After it started flying for a while, I started thinking of ways to get it down, and I found out that the Dazzle Fruit can blind it and make it weak, so the topaz was unnecessary. Once I got it to its second phase, it started to spawn crawling Gibdos. These guys were really fast and covered in gloom. I wasn't being careful, and I died. With all that I had done, I knew I needed to re-strategize and change my tactics to defeat each boss, so that's exactly what I did. For the Demon King's army, I used Puff Shrooms and Dazzle Fruits, but I made sure to save some Dazzle Fruits for the upcoming Gibdos. Everything else was the same, except this time, instead of using a wing to protect myself from the Goblin, I just walked around for 10 minutes, and it worked just as well. Colgare was the exact same as last time, and I made sure to break my Master Sword before I fought it. And this time, I had a faster Goma fight. And for Muktarok, I used the Hydrant to weaken him, which worked a lot better than Splash Fruit. My Master Sword did break again, but this time I propped a wing against the wall and went under it. This blocked any attack from it, and made it so I could fully idle without having to worry about taking any damage. Once I got my sword back, I fused a Lionel Mace Horn to it and finished off Muktarok. And finally, I got to Queen Gibdo. Since I learned you could use Dazzle Fruit to stun it, I was able to fuse something strong to my sword, making the fight easier. First stage was a breeze, and someone in my chat named Gage gave me a good idea for the second phase in an attempt prior to this one. If I left one of the Gloom Gibdos alive, it would power up my Master Sword so I could do more damage to Queen Gibdo, and this worked perfectly alongside some Dazzle Fruit. In the end, I was able to defeat Queen Gibdo. I was really hyped since this was the furthest I've gone, and I was ready to fight Phantom Ganon, until I saw this on my screen. I had completely forgotten about the Sea's construct, and I had absolutely no idea what to do against it. I tried hitting it a few times, but did little damage even with one of the best monster parts fused to my sword. I thought about what to do until I thought of using a Dazzle Fruit, and it did nothing. But at the same time I tried to blind it, I got a Flurry Rush and made that my priority. It was going well until my sword broke. There was nothing I could do and nowhere to hide, so for the next 10 minutes I had to stay fully aware and backflip every time it tried to swing. While this was happening, I paused my game and looked at a speedrun to see how they did it, and discovered you had to spin attack it so it could slide onto the wall so it could damage itself. Now technically, since it's damaging itself with the wall, I'll count it, since I'm only hitting it with the Master Sword. I'm sure a robot that big could stop itself, but it looked like it was enjoying sliding into the wall. I fused a piece of topaz to my sword so I could stun it in spin attack. I kept on doing that until I got to the second phase and my sword was about to run out of energy. I tried hitting it a few times on its second phase, but it was a lot quicker and wasted my durability. So for the next 10 minutes, I either had to go below it or move away from it at the last second. After 10 minutes, I got my sword back and fused a shock emitter to it so I could take it down. And I did. I was finally on the second to last boss, Phantom Ganon. It wasn't too bad, and after a bunch of sword swings, I took both faces down without any issues, except I did get hit a few times. And with Phantom Ganon out of the way, it was time for the final boss. At this point, I wasn't even nervous. After all I had done, I knew I could do it and was feeling more confident than ever. I was determined to beat this final boss, and with the adrenaline rush I had, I quickly fused something to my sword and stepped right into the final boss fight.
You said it was hard the first time. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did die a few times. Go ahead, flame me in the comments, but hear me out. I know I suck, but I have a decent excuse. I blame the drowsiness and the 10 minutes of purposely avoiding flurry rushes. I think that messed up my timing. But excuses aren't going to kill Ganon, so I had to relearn his attack patterns. And I had done it. I was on to the final stage.
Oh, too clean. Actually, Richard. It's Richard Tyler Blevins. This is it. Come on. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Final hit. Final hit. Come on, Link. Finish it. What if he dropped his sword here? That'd be kind of funny. Boom! I did it! Alright, the time officially ends. When I grab Zelda's hand, though. Let's go! Come on, Link, go faster! How do speedrunners do this part? Alright, 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 alright! Come on, Link, come on! Done! 11:29:43. Jeez.
And that's how I beat Tears of the Kingdom with only the Master Sword. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Also, this was all live streamed on my Twitch, so if you would like to watch future challenges, be sure to follow me there. With all that said, have a good one. Peace.